top financial advice with people with 6 and 7 figure net worth. I've done a few videos in the past about like counterintuitive financial advice and also what I would recommend to people that have a sub 6 figure net worth and sharing my own mistakes along the way of learning financial advice. If you're new to the channel, hi, I'm Tero. I am from Finland. I grew up on a farm in Finland and was pretty poor and learned along the way by making a lot of mistakes on accumulating wealth. And in this series, I'm kind of sharing why certain things might work, but they're not for you, especially because YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok are full of financial advice, often from people who, by the way, don't have a lot of money, or 2, they have money, but they're trying to sell you a course. This is neither. I'm not selling you a financial course here. I'm just sharing my mistakes. By the way, if you don't have a 6 or 7 figure net worth, this video can still be helpful to you. I do recommend people to learn broadly and then execute kind of timely. So if you're still not at this level, it's still good to know what might be coming next. Just make sure that maybe some of this advice, don't start executing on them just because you saw a YouTube video. If you saw the first video on what to do if you're sub 100,000, I talked a lot about being on offense versus defense, all gas, no brakes. It's because at that level, it's very important, obviously, after being debt-free and to have some emergency funds and the rest of the time, just keep your main thing on growing your income and earnings, learning new skills, networking, and finding ways to earn more before you start optimizing for the bottom line. Now, if your net worth is like 100,000 to a few million, you probably should be optimizing for the bottom line too. Now, that shouldn't be your sole focus. You're not that rich.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
You're still in wealth accumulation phase, but now you have leverage that someone with sub 100,000 doesn't have, which you need to take into account. And I'd say the most important thing is to find an amazing CPA. Or even like an average person, like interview multiple CPAs. It's probably the best money you'll spend from a advisory point of view. You're not ready for private wealth managers or fancy systems and whatever they say to you at the bank. At this point, the bank will probably try to have you meet with their financial advisors and whatnot. Do not probably do that. But the one group of people you're gonna need is you're gonna need an amazing CPA, and not just an okay or good one, but amazing. So interview multiple CPAs, find a person who's an absolute killer. The money you'll spend on that will be definitely worth it. Unlike if you're sub 100K, at this point you should be investing. But I see a mistake often that I also made is that you start investing too complicated. You're not that rich yet. You should be investing because you have leverage, but unless you're an investment professional yourself and that's your domain expertise, you probably shouldn't be investing. You shouldn't diversify super crazy from a time point of view, but in investments, you have enough leverage that you should be somewhat diversified. Over and over again, I believe that the best choice for people with a 6 to 7 figure net worth is just to use ETFs. Very simple index funds. Think of Vanguard, Schwab. Most of those can be on the US market. You can have some bonds. If you want to be conservative, 50% in bonds, 50% in stock. If you're a little bit more aggressive, you can be heavier on stock, or you can take 100 and minus your age, and that will be the percentage on stock, and then your age will be the percentage in bonds. Those will have less management fees. The only variable is when you enter the market, so you should probably enter the market weekly or bi-weekly or monthly over a long time period versus in 1 or 2 days very quickly. But other than that, you just kind of hold still and you'll get what the market gives you with very few fees, and it'll probably outwin almost any investment strategy. Just keep it simple and spend your time on other areas of your life, and again, still growing your income. The other thing that might be very helpful if you have a 6 to 7 figure net worth is hiring a trust and estate lawyer. Less important than the CPA, and it's more of a one-off expense versus CPAs annually and ongoing, but a good estate lawyer for a few $1,000s, which at this point you can absolutely afford, will set up a revocable trust. I have revocable trust, irrevocable trust, all kinds of stuff, but the most important is probably the revocable trust. It will give you protection and safety for a bunch of reasons. Lawyers can explain for your state how it works. If you're paying more than 5K, you're probably getting ripped off. It should probably be like 2 to 3, maybe 4K. And it is, again, revocable, so you can change it later. It's a two-way door. It's not a one-way door. So once you set it up, you can't go back. You can go back, but it will help you in multiple ways in protecting you and your family from various things. Besides ETF index funds, the other financial tool that makes a lot of sense is Roth IRA. Once you enter this Roth IRA game, you probably can't invest directly anymore because you're wealthy enough. So you have to do a backdoor IRA. If you're not familiar with backdoor IRA, you can Google that and you'll get a lot of hits, a lot of YouTube videos. I actually think that at this point, you should be focused on mega Roth IRAs. So instead of just doing your contribution, let's say it's $6,500 a year through a traditional IRA and converting it to Roth, you should actually be a lot more aggressive. So using 401ks and other tools, depending on the state, age, different variables, you can probably get somewhere around 60 to 80K a year into a Roth. And what's great about the Roth is that the compounding interest then will be tax-free. That way you can really accumulate wealth. I don't recommend the Roth IRA super early if you don't have the emergency funds and net worth to go with it, because it is somewhat illiquid. When you have more wealth, Roth IRA is probably one of the best, if not the best ways to accumulate wealth. There are even billionaires. If you want to Google some billionaires, you'll find who've used Roth IRA to make billions. So it's not just for people with lower income, it's actually for a lot of people. It is one of the few things that people online talk about that is helpful. Again, if your net worth is over 100K, and I would recommend people to be even more aggressive than what they teach you online. You should be putting 60 to 80K, because at this point you can probably afford it. Obviously, if you can't afford it and your income drops for whatever reason, that's why you had the emergency funds. But if you can afford it, try putting 60 to 80K into a Roth, and in 5 to 10 years, you are golden. Since this video is about being like level appropriate, one of the biggest mistakes I see people in this level doing is that they bloat. When you are poor, you are poor and you have to be tight. And when you're rich, you're trading off money for time, and you can be loose. You need to be loose, actually. But in this area, often people get loose too early. And I would recommend, until you're in the multiple millions, probably focusing on minimalism. Minimalism as a concept, you don't have to be dogmatic about it, but you gotta avoid cost bloat. Because in this area, you can afford nice things, but you probably shouldn't until you've accumulated more wealth and buffer. And a lot of people end up first getting to this point and then living beyond their means, and then they kind of mess themselves up. So I recommend minimalism or staying tight a little bit longer. Past the point when you need to, yes, you still invest in certain things like the revocable trust and the good CPA and certain things you can afford in a way, or save you from mistakes later, but you got to stay tight until you're at least a few million, and at that point, then you can kind of slowly start to loosen things up.
So let's put a couple tables together.
I'm not sure that they'll let us.
Oh, they should. I own the place.
As a bonus tip, HSA might be helpful here, less so FSA, but now we're playing a little bit like we're trying to major in the minors, but HSA can also be a way how you can save money in this category. What you don't need is, no matter what they say on TikTok, things like 529s or high cost financial services, private wealth managers, life insurances. These things are probably not for you. And it doesn't mean, again, if it works, it doesn't mean it's for you. You should keep the main thing the main thing. You can learn broadly, but execute timely. Focus on your domain expertise. Do the 80-20, get a great CPA, do the mega Roth, do the index funds, keep it simple. I see a lot of people like starting to buy real estate at this point, and then managing the real estate becomes a headache. You don't need multiple LLCs probably, and create a complex structure just to save some thousands of dollars.
Consequences, consequences, as long as I'm rich.
Or buying a fancy G-Wagon at this point, unless it brings you outsized joy. But like in general, it's probably not worth it. These are some of the mistakes I've made and what I would recommend to you if you're in this level. If this is helpful, I'm happy to make a video for people who have a net worth of 8 figures or more. These things are not linear, but they're steps. And at certain point, you have to think about time and money in a different way. But if this was helpful, leave a comment below, share your own experiences. I would love to hear it. And if you hated the video, you can also leave a comment. I'm not going to be offended. If you like it, thumbs up, like, what is it called? Thumbs up, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Ciao, ciao.